how do you actually get to know yourself? Not like the person you think you are or the person everybody else told you you are. Who are you? Who are you in your own being? What do you expect of yourself? Do you expect anything from yourself? Do you believe in yourself? Um, and I believe that knowing yourself is kind of process of gathering information while observing yourself. And while living, you test what resonates with you. Um, and then when in this process of knowing yourself, the more you know, the more you have to embody also. Because then you realize, oh, I'm not that kind of person. That's something other people told me. And and in the process of knowing yourself, it's a kind of acknowledging and realizing the inherited identity. Then you go through this kind of self-observation and self-understanding, and afterwards you can embody and oh, that's the cat making problems. Tiggy. He thinks he's a bird. Um, so, but when you embody everything you start have observed, and you want to change, then you start embodying, and then you can create this conscious life design. You get conscious about your living, and that's a really, really lovely thing about the process of knowing yourself. Uh, and when you start this process, the easiest way is, of course, to use your birth data and gather astrology, human design, numerology, um, maybe also tarot cards, because in there you have a lot of insightful descriptions of your birth, of the symbolic placements of your birth. And this kind of data can help you. I mean, if you go to astrology, it's the sun, the moon, the rising, the north node that is really important. And if you, when you study human design, it's your type, the strategy. I have the list here: authority, the incarnation cross, and the not self team. For numerology, it's the life path and the destiny number that are really important. And for tarot card, it's the personal card and the soul card that you can figure out. And you can also do fingerprint analysis, and I have done that. You just send your fingerprint to this it was a lady who was doing these systems, and by that she made a characteristica, and I could use a lot of that information. But it's only information, and I will call this the starting map with this kind of symbolic information as a starting point of in the process of knowing yourself. Um, it's kind of seeing yourself from different perspectives that are not subjective, because when you talk to your mom or your dad or your sister or your brother or people who know you for a long time, then they have their opinion, but their opinion is not maybe the true characteristic, because their opinion is colored through their lenses of life. So when you start using the symbolic information, then you can start characterize yourself objectively. And then when this process is over, you can how can you say it? You can look at what resonates actually. Does it resonate? What can I take to? What do I want to bring to my table from this kind of characteristica? And then when you have this on the table, then you go to the next step, where you more have like this observable information, because then you look at your communication, you look at your capacity, and you look at your current situation and your current circumstances. And your communication reveals a lot about you. And your communication is what you say, what you do, how you react, how you think, what kind of inputs do you get. That's part of your communication. Your capacity is about your knowledge, your intelligence, the people around you, your strength also, your mind strength, and your current circumstances is where you live, who are you surrounded with, um, and how is your daily life. So when you start looking at these observable information, these are real data. The birth data is symbolic information, and it's not like the one is better or the other, but with the observable information you can start seeing if you actually embody the thing of you that you like and that you want to do. And if you don't know what to do in life, that's gonna be another video, because then you have really been living through severe psychological trauma, and that can really change your brain, because your brain is afraid to have wishes because of the cognitive understanding of what a wish means for you, and that is not fair. But when you know when you start knowing yourself, you also see, oh, I really don't like that, I like to do this. Then you do more of what you like, what works. Do more of what works always, because when you look deeper at yourself and you can ask more questions and you dare to answer them, then you can level up in life, because the personal evidence about you is something that you can change. It's like an algorithm. You can change it because you can see, oh, I keep doing like this, just like the algorithm keeps sending you the same video until you start seeing new and liking them. It's the same. And when you start looking at yourself with this kind of, with your own objective lenses, because you are not allowed to criticize yourself during this process. You can only say, oh, I drink this much alcohol. Oh, I rest too much. Oh, I scroll too much is actually already a criticism. But I scroll this much. I rest this much. I eat this much. When you start looking at yourself, you're like, oh, but actually I don't like this. And then instead of looking at what you don't like too much, then you start looking at what do you want to do instead, and then you start taking those steps. I wanted to be more active in the morning, so me and my friend, we gathered and we did man doubling, and I will jump my cord and do some weightlifting, and she's standing on this board and we are just on the phone together. 10 minutes, 15 minutes in every morning, not every morning, but 3 times a week. Because we both saw that we wanted to make a change here, and instead of focusing on, oh, we are too alone and we are not yada yada, we don't have each other, then we were like, okay, we do it on the phone, because then it happens. That's only and that's how you embody. Because one thing is seeing who you are, because you start knowing yourself better, and then you're like, but I actually want to do this, and then you take small steps, like small steps. If you want to eat the elephant, if you want to eat the elephant immediately, you get sick. And in the process of knowing yourself, you also stop asking, who am I supposed to be? Because you're not supposed to be, you are already. But what do you want to do? No matter your ACEs, no matter traumas, when we have endured ACEs and traumas, all we want is peace. But when then the peace comes, life gets actually a little bit boring. It's not that we need war, but we need some challenges, we need some core goals, small, little, big, in the process of knowing ourselves, because then we can see how we work and where we want to do better. Because as a human being, we are here to develop. So the question is, where do you want to develop? What do you want to develop? And I had a really difficult time because of my ACEs. So for a long time, I did not know what to do, but I kept doing something. And I realized that during my 30 years of finding a purpose, I was actually always living my purpose because I was helping other people succeed with their lives. That is what I'm really good at. So instead of, I was pushing that thing away and I was like, I have to work corporate, I have to do this, I have to do that. But that was not what I had to do. So when I start knowing myself for real, I was like, but I have been doing this kind of thing. I have always helped people with astrology, numerology, tarot cards, uh, life life paths. I have helped people map their life so they could go in and step into the next version of their person on this journey in life. And so it's not about inventing a new self or the cat gave me a shock. It's not about inventing a new self. It's more about being able to distinguish who am I from what I learned to be, and what do I really want to do, and how do I do that. And these things come together when you start knowing yourself, and in the process and in the work every day. It gets easier because in the process of knowing yourself, you also sometimes have to eat some camels, as we say in Danish. The cool thing when you start really like knowing and feeling yourself, then you realize what are my actual needs, and not what am I supposed to need, and what am I supposed to do for other people. It's more like, what can I do for myself to make sure that I feel good, so I can make others feel good also. But you have to start with yourself and some kind of embodying your daily needs with what you want to do also in the future. And then keep this balance so that you have, because the better you know yourself, the easier it is to have good connections in life. I did not know myself, so I just people pleased without knowing it, and I became toxic to myself, and I was not toxic to others because I people pleased, because in my belief, I wished the best for them. And I didn't impose what I wanted them. I have actually supported a lot of people in their dreams, and then I forgot myself. And that is a pattern that I continued for so many years until I actually became a mom as 40 years old. And I will say that even if I had the chance to become a mom at 25 years old, I would not have been a good mom then. Because when I was 40, I knew so much about life. I knew so much about the brain. I knew so much about a human experience. But what I did not know was the consequences of the ongoing trauma and adverse experiences that I kept running into. And I did not know how to mention. I had no names for these things because for me it was so not comprehensive what they were doing to me. But I couldn't prove it because I did not have the words until I became a mom. And learned, and it's not because I became a mom, I learned about narcissistic abuse and psychological abuse, because I already knew a little about it, but I didn't believe that they could do that. So I kept believing that it must have been a misunderstanding. But the more I knew myself, the better I knew my communication, the easier it was for me to see what was going on, and that I had to move physically in order to get out of that rumble-bumble that I was in. But it was only in the process of knowing myself and keep studying myself that I realized who I was, and if I continued that way, I would never become who I actually, in my heart, want to be. And now I'm 49 years old, so I don't have time for all that BS. And that's also why I started making these videos, because I was like, this is my why. And the better you know yourself, it is to know your why. It's easier to see your path, and it's easier to figure out what is good for you and what is not good for you, and what should you do more of. And so the process of knowing yourself is not something that happens in 24 hours. A transformational process. I have helped people. It took 3 years for a person to realize what she wanted, start going that pathway, and now she has that education she needs to do what she actually wants. And before that, she has just jumped around for many different jobs, and then in the process of knowing herself, she was like, but this is what I want to be. This is what I want to do. And then she started, and after 3 years, now she can actually enter that path, because she needed some. I mean, as I said, it doesn't happen overnight. But in the process, you go up and you go down, and you go up and you go down. But when you learn yourself, when you know yourself, when you get to learn yourself, when you accept and you give yourself access to deeper knowledge, and face your fears, and face your heartbrokenness, and face your failures, because people say that every failure is it's not a failure, it's a learning. No, something is like you feel it like a failure, but when you realize why you failed, then is where the learning comes, because then you will not fail that again. But if you do not face that learning and face that failure, you will not learn, and you will not be able to change. And this is how the new game of life begins, when you stand next to yourself and go through these big challenges and small challenges that you have in life. And healing your feelings while in this process, after trauma, in order to know your actual needs and desires. That is also a process in the process of knowing yourself. So you have the process of knowing yourself, and then the process of healing after knowing yourself. And that is, of course, another video. But I hope you enjoyed this, and if you have any questions, you are so much welcome to ask. And thank you so much, and remember to love yourself more.